Daf Samach Vav Amud Beis, second line from the top at the two dots. Tzmei Medres Vein Yotzim Ben Shabbos Vein Nichnosim Ben Lazor. So the Mishnah said that a person that does not have the use of his legs, he had a chair and he had pads, supports for his feet, for his legs, and he used to propel himself forward, and he used to be rest, he had support his legs with these smuchos. He learned, the way he learned it was that it's permitted, it's mutter to go into the Azara with them. I learned in a brisa that this is kosher for chalitza. A woman who was undergoing chalitza could remove this shoe from the oven. So obviously, therefore, it's considered to be a shoe. If it's considered to be a shoe, it's also to go with shoes into the Azora. So therefore, the correct girsa cannot be nichnosim, that it's mutter to go into the Azora. And you're learning that it's mutter, you can go with it. Tani, rather, the correct girsa is Tani ein nichnosim bem lazar. It's also to go into the Azar because they're considered like shoes, so you cannot go into the Azar with them. The same for the Mishnah said that lukmin are taharim, and these are considered tor. They're not considered to be a kli to be mekabel tuma. My luktamin, what is the meaning of luktamin? Amar Rabbi Avo, Rabbi said chamra d'akfa. They're donkeys, wooden donkeys that are carried on a person's shoulders. And Rashi explains they're used by clowns. They're not really carried on the shoulder, they're suspended from the shoulders, and they're between the person's legs, so it looks like he's riding on this wooden donkey. And that's how the clowns used to use it. So it's tor, it's considered tor. Why is it considered tor? Because it's not a kli. It doesn't have a kli kibul, and it's made out of wood. Shuta kliyades are not mekabel tuma. So it's not a kli. Why is it not mekabel tuma's madras? L'chayra, the person is supporting himself with it. So Rashi explains that he's not really supporting himself with it. It's basically he's just there. It has the appearance of him riding on it, but he doesn't really support himself with it. Now, even though from time to time he does, but that's not enough to be considered to be a support. That's not something that is made to support the person. It's not used for that function. And as the Ritva elaborates on this, and it's not considered also a support. It's not made in the form of shoes. So even though a temporary support, it's not even considered a temporary support to say that is a mekabel tuma, like the kli, the shoes of the Sayyadin, we learned before that even though it's primarily not used for support, it's used to protect their feet from the sid, but nevertheless, even though they walk home with it, and from time to time they use it as shoes, there, in that case it is considered a shoe, but in this case over here, it's not made in the form of a shoe. It's not primarily used for support, so it's tor, it's completely tor, it's not mekabel tumas maga, it's not mekabel tumas medras. That's one pshat. Rabbi Bar Papa Omar, he says it's a kish ekshiri. There are stilts that are used to walk in the muddy areas. Again, over here, they are not made in the form of shoes. They're pshuta kliyates. It doesn't have a base kibul. They're not used primarily for support. Now, even though here it is used for support, and when he walks through the muddy areas, but the primary use is not for support, and it's not made in the form of shoes, so it's not mekabel tuma. Rabbi Rav Huna Amar Prami. He says they're masks to use for their children, that they scare the children with these masks. Again, it's not considered a keli, it's not considered a kli, and it's certainly not used for support. It's not mekabel, there's no tuma, it's not mekabel tuma. Zok the Mishnah, it says young boys can go out with knots. Gemara will explain what are these knots. And the children of royalty, the children of the princes, the princes, rather, the children of Malachim, they can go out with bells. B'chol Adam, and really any person, it's just a common case, a normal one. The ones that usually would go out with this ornament, where they would have this chashivas, would be the B'nai Malachim, but really, it's anybody who goes out with them. It would be permitted to go out because it's considered to be a tachshit. It's not considered to be carrying. The Gemara will explain. Mike Shorim. What are these kshorim that we say that the young boys can go out with? Amar Rav Nachman bar Baruch, Amar Rav Ashi bar Avin, Amar Rav Yehuda. He says kshuri pua. There are knots. They used to take the stems of the pua plant, the madder plant, and they used to tie them in knots and hang it and suspend it from one's neck, and that was used for refuah. That was done for refuah, so therefore it's not considered carrying. It's considered the normal way of going out, because that's the attire that a person who had a certain illness that would wear. He would wear these ksharim. Amar Abaye, Amliyaim. He said that his mother told him she was baki in refuah. So this is when he says aim, it's the one that raised him. He says, Tlasa mukni, if it has 3 knots, it will contain the illness, it will not spread, it will not go further. Chamisha masa, if there's 5, it will heal it. Shiva filukshon mala, if there's 7, it'll be a protection even against kishuf, against even witchcraft. Amar Rav bar Yaakov, v'hu d'lo chazal shim shavasira. He says that's only if it does not it's not exposed to the light or the moon. And not exposed to the rain, and he's not exposed to the sound of banging metal. The kol tarnagolta, or the sound of a rooster, the kol nigri, or the sound of footsteps. Otherwise, it is not potent. It's only if it is not exposed to any of these things. He says, then it fell into the pit. To find such a case where it's not exposed to any of these things is so rare, it's like throwing it into a pit. It will render it useless. Frank the Gemara. Well, in any event, if this is what it means, how could this be the pshat in the Mishnah that this is what it means? If that's the case, my ir bonim, afil bonus nomi. If it's a question of if it's used for refuah, why dafka the young boys, even girls is also, and my ir kitana, afil gedana, and why children? Why is it the Mishnah says that the young boys can go out with this? If they're talking about these ksharim that are used for the refuah, it should be anybody. Ella, Mike Shorim. Therefore, he says it's different shot. That's not what this is. Mike Shorim is Kihod Amar Avin Barhun Amar of Hama Barguya Ben Sheesh Lagagun Alaviv. If there's a child that has for father, he's attached to his father, so that he's so attached that if his father leaves, he's going to be sad, he's going to be upset, he's going to be depressed. So they had this school over here that Noitel Ritzua Minal Shal Yamin. The father takes a strap, a lace from his right shoe, and he ties it around the child's left arm, and that alleviates the sadness that the child has. So it was dafka for the knan. It's not gedolim. It's a child that has gaguim on his father, and it's specifically a son to the father. The son is attached to the father and feels if the father leaves. And the fathers, in those days, it was the fathers that left, not the mothers. If the father leaves and the child feels very sad and depressed when the father leaves him. So they had this skula that was done. So the child can go out with this because this is considered the regular attire for the child, for the young boy. A siman is what you tie is. The siman is tefillin. It's tied on the left arm, just like tefillin. But v'chiluv zakanta, if you do the opposite and take the left lace on the right arm, that's a sakana. Amar Avin Barhuna Amar Rav Chama bar Guya Schufi Kasa Tibur B'Shabbos Shapet Dami. So the Gemara brings down a membrum. to do with refuahs and to do with Shabbos, and things that are mutter on Shabbos, and we'll have now a list of things that are dealing with refuahs and things that are on Shabbos and are as far as what the halach is regarding them on Shabbos. So he said that you can take a cup, which Rashi gives an example that the cup was heated, hot water was put in the cup. Now the cup is hot, you pour out the water, and you put this on a person's, he turns it over and puts it on his navel on Shabbos. So if a person had a stomach ailment, the heat would now soothe the stomach, and also if there was a dislocation, the heat would draw it and to be located in the proper place. To put a cup with hot water on the stomach is a sakana. So it had to be a cup that was hot. It's just an example of one way of heating up the cup. And it's better to put it on his stomach on Shabbos and to ease the pain. It's not also as a refuah, because the exera of refuah on Shabbos is shchiko samamonim. And over here, there's no herbs, there's no medicine, he's not taking any medicine. Now he is doing something which might be considered an uvda d'chol. However, because of the tsar involved, the great pain that he has in his stomach, the chomer mater. So this type of a refuah, which doesn't involve taking anything orally, and this type of natural type of refuah, because of the great pain that he has in the stomach, this is mutar on Shabbos. Another member that he said, to take a mixture of oil and salt and to put it on the palm, a person's palm of his hands and the sole of his feet, that's mutar on Shabbos. Now the reason that they did this was if a person was somewhat intoxicated, he had too much to drink, this would now sober him up. So this type of remedy was mutter. It's mutter to do on Shabbos. It's not considered to be a refuah. It's mutter to do on Shabbos. Ki had Ravuna mibei Rav v'Ravi bei Rebbe Chia, as in what we have, like Rav Huna used to come back from Rav. He was a Talmud of Rav, and Rav was a Talmud of Chia. And in those days, they used to give the Talmidim to drink. It used to open their minds and allow them to comprehend the depths of the learning. So they used to give them something to drink, but when they went home, they wanted to make sure that they were sober. So they did this remedy over here to cause them to sober them up. Rav Chia Rebbe, and Rav Chia used to come back from his Rebbe, which was Rebbe Kiava Mivsami, when they had somewhat to drink. Maise Mishchu Milcha, they took this mixture of oil and salt, Vishafi Luhula Gavaya, the Yadai Gavaya, the Karaya, and they put it on the palms of their hands, on the soles of their feet, and they used to say the Kihecha, the Tzelha Mishcha, just as this oil, so it's being absorbed into the hand and the foot, just like this oil is being absorbed, is thinning out. So too, the wine, the effects of the wine should also disperse, and it should be dispelled. Viloi, and if he doesn't have these ingredients, another eitzah is he should take the clay seal of a barrel, put it in water, and now it's dissolving in the water again. It's thinning out, it's dissolving. Just like this clay is thinning out, so too, leil chamra the planya bar planisa, and the wine should also be dispelled from this person. Another remedy, he said that it's mutter to do, and it's mutter to do it on Shabbos, is called choking. If there was a dislocation in the person's neck, so what they would do is they would hang the person, they call it choking him. It was like hanging. They stretched his neck, so they used to hang him, and that way stretch the neck, and that would then allow it would now revert to its proper place and remedy the dislocation. It's mutter to do it on Shabbos, again, because it's not considered, there's no considered shechikah salmon, because he's not taking anything orally over here. He's not taking any medicine. And even though it might be one of the dechol, but because of the great tsar, it's mutter on Shabbos. And another member that he said, a child that was born, a newborn baby, so sometimes its limbs got dislocated. They would wrap it tightly in a blanket, and that would then position the limbs in the proper place. This is also mutter to do on Shabbos for the same reasons we mentioned before by the prior remedies. Rav Papa Masle Bonim. So when Papa learned these, he learned when he said in the name of Rav Chama Bar Guria, he taught Bonim 2 cases of the children. He taught both cases of the children, the case of our Mishnah and the case that we just mentioned. Razvid Masa Ben, but he said in the singular. These refuahs that he mentioned in his name only one case. Rapapa Masle Bonim Vatara Masle Bavin Barhuna. And he learned both of these cases in the name of Avin Barhuna. And he learned that the case in our Mishnah of tying the lace and the wrapping of the child, he learned both in his name. Rasid Masa Ben, Kamaisa Maisa Bavin Barhuna, Vahai Masla Barava Bar Barchana. This latter one, he learned it rather in the name of Rabba Bar Barchana. The Amar Bar Barchana, he said in the name of Rabba Bar Barchana, this latter one about wrapping the child, he learned it in the name of Rabba Bar Barchana. Amar Abaya. So I'm going to mention different things that they used to different lechishas to mention certain utterances that are considered will be a refuah in certain types of cases. Amar Abaya, Amar Li'em, he said, Kol minyana b'shma de'ima. When you say anything of these incantations, you say it in the mother's name. Similar to when we are mispal for refuah, we say Pliny Ben, and we say the son of the mother. So in these types of things we say in the name of a mother, and when we tie any knots, it's on the left arm. Vamra by Amrli Aim, she said, Kol minyana de mefarshe kin mefarshim. So when you say when there is a lachash where it's prescribed and it has the number of times that you're supposed to say it, when we know when it's prescribed the number of times it's supposed to be said, you do it according to the prescription. But if it's not prescribed, then the number of times that it's mentioned is 41 times. So another thing which is considered a refuah and which are allowed to go on with Shabbos is an even tekuma. What is an even tekuma? It's a stone that has a cavity in it. It's naturally formed that way as a cavity and has another stone in the cavity. Mishum Ramer Amro Af Mishkal Even Tekuma. He said also with a Mishkal Even Tekuma, if you had this Even Tekuma and you had another stone which is a counterweight, that you used it as a counterweight to weigh the Even Tekuma, this counterweight also has the properties, it possesses the properties of the Even Tekuma, and it also can be used for refuah, and therefore you can go out with it on Shabbos. Now, this is a refuah for a woman to protect her pregnancy, but it's not only for a woman that we know is susceptible to miscarriages. It's not only a case of a woman who has miscarried previously. It's even a woman that isn't, but it's just used as a protective measure that she will not miscarry. And it's not only if she can go, not only if we know that she's expecting and it's to protect her pregnancy, it's even if we don't know, maybe she might be expecting and she might miscarry, it's still mutter to go out with this stone. This counterweight only has the properties of the Even Tekuma if it is naturally, it is now the same weight as the Even Tekuma. If you weigh it against the Even Tekuma and it's balanced without adding anything out to the other part of the scale, if it balances and it happens to be the same weight naturally as the Even Tekuma, then it has a din of Even Tekuma. That's only if it is now has the equivalent weight of the Even Tekuma, but not if you have to add or subtract anything from the other side of the scale. Boy, by a mishkal to mishkal, my. He said, what about a mishkal to mishkal? You took the Evan Tekuma, there was a counterweight. So the counterweight now has a din of Evan Tekuma. Now let's say you weighed something else, and to balance out this counterweight with another stone. Does this now, mishkal to mishkal, the counterweight of the counterweight, does it also have the din of Evan Tekuma? Does it pass down? Tekum. For a fever that comes daily, it comes regularly, you take a newly minted zuz, called a white zuz, and go to where the salt mines are. They evaporate the salty water, and they evaporate it, and to have the water evaporated and the salt remaining so that they are able to get the salt. So you go to the milk of veliskal maskala milcha and weigh again its weight in salt. Velisra bechalalda the beitzava benira barke, and then you tie the salt to the opening of a neck, with a strand of hair. V'iloi, and if you don't have that, leisav a parsha drochim, then you sit on the parshas drochim, on the crossroads. V'chichaza shumshma gamla dedora midi, and when you see a large ant that's carrying something, lishka v'lishara b'guzuf denachsha, take it and put it in a copper tube, v'listma ba'avra, and then seal it with lead, v'lechlimim b'shis and gushbanki, and seal it 60 different types of seals, lead wax and tar and pitch, etc. V'lavarzula, and shake it, v'lidre, and carry it, and the v'lema lay, and you say, tunach alai utanai alach. You say, your burden is on me and mine is on you. We switch. What you're carrying, so the ant is carrying something, whatever it is, he says, what you're carrying, I'll carry. What I'm carrying, meaning the sickness, should be upon you. No, that's not the proper way to do it, because maybe this ant, someone else already did this procedure with the ant, and what the ant is carrying is this other person's sickness, and now if you're going to say that what you're carrying is upon me, that will bring his sickness onto him. Rather say what you're carrying and what I'm carrying, they're both on you. And if you don't have this ant, and you can't do it in this manner, then another alternative is lishkal kusa chalata. You take a new small kli cheres, v'lezel nahara, and go to the river, and v'leimalei, and say nahara nahara, nahara nahar, usan kusa d'maya le'urcha de'iklali. Lend me a keli full of water for this what has come upon me, this oirech, this routine that has come upon me for this sickness. V'lahadar shev zim al resha, and circle around your head 7 times, and throw the water behind him and back into the river. And say, Nahara Nahara, Shkol Maya Dehavli, take back the water that you gave to me, take it back. The Urcha Deikali, because that oirach, that sickness that has come upon me, V'yayma Asa, V'yayma Asa. It came today and it went away today, so take it back the water.